Hello everyone and welcome to another Poppy Playtime video. Today we are taking a look at the new image of Huggy Wuggy that's been released. And I need to inform you of how it got released because I somewhat have a part in it. But before we get into that, I wouldn't be a YouTuber if I didn't ask you to hit subscribe and like and do all the usual stuff, especially if you enjoy Poppy Playtime and any other content similar, because of course we cover it on the channel and do theories. And if you are heading over to the Poppy Playtime merch store anytime soon, we also have the code It's Just Your to get you 10% off your order, and of course you will be throwing me some support along the way. But of course, with all the shameless self-promotion out of the way, let's actually get talking in this video. So, this image has recently been shared through the live stream that the devs recently had on Mob Games. Now initially this image was posted with an overlay advertising the free Killy Willy hoodie that you can get through Project Playtime because of Phase 2. Now interestingly enough, I found this image really interesting and I wanted to do a little bit more research in it. But of course I couldn't find any of the images or any core image that didn't have the overlay on. So as I'm a member of the Poppy Playtime Creator Club, I requested from Brock, the community manager at Mob Games, for a raw image, to which he delivered. So I greatly appreciate that, Brock. If you are watching this video, tip my hat to you, good sir. And then I followed with posting it on Twitter, sharing my initial thought on it and how it was so cool. But of course, after that, a lot of people have now used this image, of course, and done what they want to do, like videos and some tweets. So of course the image has got around a bit, and now people are asking questions regarding what I think about this image, and I do have a few thoughts and theories. Now initially I wasn't going to do a sole video dedicated to the picture because I thought I don't really want to drag out a video too long just because of one thing. So don't worry, this video isn't going to be like a 15-minute long video of me explaining one image because that would just be foolish. We're going to go over what we see, you know, what we think, and just a little bit of back and forth to what it could call to, what it could be. Is it even going to be in Chapter 3? So of course, let's begin. So of course, my big thing about this image already is the sheer quality improvement, and of course the dread that we get from the image alone. And a few things that I do want to point out, of course, is that it does take place in an event, of course, because we see that in the background with the fan. So I'm assuming if this is going to be related to Chapter 3, we're going to get some sequence inside event system. But in reality, all the information is Huggy, and they often mention multiple times in Discord and in promotional material that Chapter 3 is going to be dark. It's going to be worse than Chapter 1 and 2. It's going to have this dark approach to it that's going to make us really fear the game. And this Huggy, I think, is a great indication of this because, again, Huggy's had a rework since Project Playtime and Poppy Playtime. And if this one image is enough to go off, then already Chapter 3 is, like they said, very dark. One other thing that strikes me massively in the new version of Huggy is the fur and the saliva. And of course, the fur just looks absolutely fantastic. This render looks gorgeous, like on every shape. The light bouncing through the fur, and the fur, of course, textures. And like sometimes it groups the fur. It looks absolutely fantastic. But the one thing that I sort of am absolutely took away by is the really emphasis on the saliva in this version. Now, I know it seems a bit of a weird detail to go over, but again, it brings that sort of like dread back into Huggy because, of course, his teeth and mouth have been reworked too. So, of course, we see the monster teeth on the outside, of course, the sharp, very sharp and scary ones, but then also inside we can sort of see a few molars that sort of represent a person, a human's tooth. And of course, as we now know, that all adds up, and I think this is one of the reasons why a redesign was really needed for Huggy. And of course, we also have the blood on the hand of Huggy. And of course, not only there, we do have blood on his chest. Now, that's not just a dark spot for a shadow because there is an actual color change under it. And it looks like the fur has been tinted red. And again, what could this be alluding to? And while I think this is just a massive indication of where we left Huggy in Chapter 1, where Huggy fell down, because again, he did hit his chest on the way down, and of course, that would add up. And I think this is probably one of the biggest and best indications that we are going to see Huggy in Chapter 3. Perhaps not very long, perhaps maybe just a snippet towards the end, or a bit of a callback for a super scary moment where he's watching you through the vents. But there's also one other thing, and I think it's quite interesting that I don't think a lot of people have picked up on, and it's Huggy's eyes. In the reflection of Huggy's eyes, there's been something that's been blocked out purposely. Of course, I think for the purpose of the render, they haven't particularly drew anything in a distance, because as we can see, we could just see sort of a void in the reflection. But I think what it shows is Huggy is actually looking down the vent, and I think it gives us another indication of how and what we're looking at in chapter 3 for this whole dark and mysterious approach they're on about taking. I think we are going to be seeing a lot more dread and fear in this new chapter, and I think we're going to get another chase sequence because of what I can see through the eyes with Huggy, and maybe Huggy is just reside to these vents in chapter 3. For instance, I had an interesting thought that perhaps this image is a representation of after Huggy falls from chapter 1, he's climbing his way back up to the top of the factory for where he last saw you, and perhaps possibly throughout the whole of chapter 3 you see a very slight shadow every now and then, or a slight noise coming from the vent, and then it all builds up, as it does in horror. It all builds up to a pivotal point where we see Huggy staring at us down through the vent, or through a grate or a gap in the vent. And can you just imagine the dread and fear you would have staring at this image? And I, for one, think it is perfect for what they're going for. But I think it would be safe to assume at this point they wouldn't rework Huggy as much as they have done, just for a few snippets, just for Project Playtime. I think Huggy, and mark my words, I think Huggy is coming back for chapter 3. Again, I don't know when. I do have a feeling it's going to be anytime we're in the vents or somewhere close to that kind of scenario. So I think we will definitely have to keep our eye out for it. But I do think the smart guess here would be to assume Huggy is coming back for chapter 3. But of course, let me know what you think in the comments below. I would be really interested to hear what you have to say. This render is really, really interesting and quite unique. I'm so glad that I did share it on Twitter, because it's got a lot of people going on about it. And quite frankly, anything to do with chapter 3 is okay in my books. I want something, you know, anything, I'll take it. But of course, with that being said, have a lovely morning, day or night, wherever you are in the world. Stay safe, and I'll see you all in the next Poppy video.